This is the Nasserman Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella.
All right, and welcome back to the Nasserman Hockey Podcast. James Nichols and John Zella here as always. And literally right before we hit record, John and I were having a really tough conversation about how old we are now. And John, how are we going to get through this show this depressed?
I don't know. Well, all right. So I sent. Apparently, James has not seen Bo Burnham's Inside.
Not yet.
And I was telling him that I watched it like right after I got my full-time job, and had I seen it a few months earlier, I don't know that I would have made it. Like I was just, it was way too real. There was a video that I saw that, like, not reviewing it, but before people watched it, this one guy said, "I want to watch Bo Burnham's Inside, but I don't want to know that much about myself." And I'll tell you, if you're around 30 years old or older, that might hit you a little hard.
Yeah.
I think it explained our experience during the pandemic pretty well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're ready for that, maybe we'll never be. If you think you're ready for that, watch it. I'm a big Bo Burnham fan. I think he's funny. He's creative.
He's
he did it all himself in one room, produced the whole thing. It was very good.
Yeah.
So we'll try to pick it up because there's actually Islanders hockey to talk about.
There is, and just a few nights ago, game one of the preseason against the New York Rangers, the Islanders won 4-0. Pretty good game. Not your mostly your regular everyday Islanders. There were some prospects, guys fighting for roster spots in the lineup, but there were a few things that stood out in the first game. And I'll start with Erik Gustafsson. I thought he had a really good game. His rush on the Clutterbuck goal was fantastic. And I actually tweeted the clip of that video, and I had said, this is the kind of stuff that's going to win him a contract that he's fighting for on PTO. And if he can bring that element to the Islanders and continue to do that consistently, yeah, that's going to be a pretty good pickup for the Islanders. I don't anticipate him being a regular. Maybe he rotates in with Andy Green or Zdeno Chara more often than maybe they had thought about initially. But, it was a really good breakout. He had 2 assists that game. A couple of mishaps. I saw 1 or 2, he fumbled the puck a little bit. I think he tried to make a coast-to-coast play that got broken up mid-ice. Maybe it wasn't coast-to-coast, but he just trying to...
Preseason hockey is, like, messy at best.
Yeah.
So that doesn't... Like, the good stuff is good to see early.
Yeah.
The bad stuff, you're like, okay, we can shake off this rust.
Yeah.
Like, let's
and that's the other thing,
dig
too, I was going to say. Right, a couple of mistakes, but, still shaking off some rust. But, talking about that rush on the Casey Cizikas goal that started with Gustafsson, the pass to Clutterbuck, and ultimately Cizikas scored. I thought it started there with him because, obviously he started the rush, right? Gustafsson skated the puck up, but what really got it going was the confident, crisp initial pass to get the play started to Clutterbuck. It was a perfect pass, tape to tape. And it sprung Clutterbuck to beat the defender, give a little feed to Cizikas, and then the puck is in the back of the net.
That looked great. I love that the Cizikas move. That was confident. Now look, I mean, it's the Rangers preseason roster. It's hard to again, the good stuff is good. They're good signs. I loved the way Clutterbuck looked. He was fighting towards the net. That line was responsible for 3 goals.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really good.
And not to, take anything away from Brock Nelson, but you expect that from him. It is almost Brocktober.
Yep.
So we were expecting
a
couple days away from Brocktober. And then the party starts. But I think that seeing that fourth line, Johnston got in on one. Good, good to see. He's crashing that. Nothing's really changed there. I'll always wonder if he, if Martin's not around, is he that guy? And is he getting snubbed? Why are they're like keeping him around? Is he still the 13th forward? I haven't heard much about Panic. He might be in tonight's game
Yeah.
or yesterday's game as you're listening. So I don't know what they're thinking about for him. Complicated for sure, because it's really not, unless you're going to swap in Martin here and there because you don't think he can play every night. I'm not sure.
Right.
But to go back to your point about Gustafson, yeah, I wonder if Chara, Green, and Gustafson switch out strategically. So if they're playing maybe back-to-backs against a Buffalo, or they're playing Buffalo and Ottawa, do they give Gustafson a couple games and let both of them rest one game each or something?
And I think that's the plan. I think that's why they, kind of got him over to Long Island to, fight for that spot. Listen, and we could talk about Robin Salo in a little bit. He looked great, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to give him, a stint in Bridgeport and just have him play a full year there, get the North American game down, and no reason why he can't have a full rookie season in the NHL next year. That's not to say it's not going to happen this year, but it might be better off for his development.
There were a few rookies that they were skating well, or not rookies. They had no NHL experience. That they looked really good. I think Salo had a really good rush. I don't think there's anything wrong with just having them be in Bridgeport, get a full year. It's a lot less pressure. Get them used to the game, have them fight their way up. There will presumably be 2 spots next summer. There could be. Gustafson, obviously, even if he is the 7th defender, it isn't, unless he does something spectacular. He's obviously not coming. I know we're talking like way super ahead here, but all is to say, it's not really worth rushing anybody at this point. If you have the safety net in Gustafson now, you have your 2 veterans. You may even have some cap room depending on what Lou can do near the trade deadline. If he really does want to do something, Nashville falls out of it, Seattle's out of it, whatever the deal is. If he can, Carolina, not that they want to deal with in the division, but whatever Lou can do. I'm comfortable with the 6 of them, 7 including Gustafson, kind of going into the season.
Right.
It's not my favorite on paper. I'm still grimacing at it a little bit because it's old. It's an old lineup. Maybe Chara's re-energized, playing with a guy like Dobson and having that opportunity for that. If he's having fun and it's less pressure and the team is good and it's a good locker room, I don't see why he wouldn't be successful.
Something that Brock Nelson said when he had signed with the Islanders makes me think, and not only did he sign with the Islanders with the intent to play every day, because I'm pretty sure that was, something that he considered when signing with a team, but something that Brock Nelson said stood out to me, and that was, we all kind of hoped in the locker room that if he wasn't going to sign with us, that he was just going to retire, because who wants to deal with that? So, and that said to me, he still got it. Last year they saw him a lot. They saw him 8 times. So there's still something there for Chara. And, in this system, I think it's even going to be, that much better. So, yeah, he's another year older, but in the Trotz system, you again, like Nelson said, they hope he retired because who wants to deal with that?
No,
there's something to be said about that comment.
Absolutely. I think it could be really good. I think if he and Dobson are going to be kind of a long-term pair, it seemed like Trotz was interested in kind of having him play with a bunch of people in the preseason just to have them have that experience.
Yeah.
Knowing how he kind of puts things together and that, once it sticks. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just, here on out, maybe he and Green switch here and there for whatever reason.
Could be.
He obviously trusted Dobson and Green last season. If there's a reason to have 2 enormous defensemen out there in Mayfield and Chara at the same time, I have to imagine there's an opportunity for that to happen. Trotz, is going to go with what's proven, and that might just be Green, Dobson, Pulock, Pelech here and there.
Yeah.
Just because that's what he knows. But yeah, that the bottom four, if you will, the second and third pair, they could mix and match. I'm not opposed to that. I would love to see Dobson be able to break out with Char next to him. I like that there's that mentorship thing,
That's the idea there as well.
but I really, there's an opportunity for Dobson to feel really comfortable out there and maybe replace Letty at some degree for that offense. If he can really get comfortable with the puck, start moving it, carrying it up the ice. We saw what he could do in junior. We saw what he can do here and there in the NHL. So it's a good opportunity for him to kind of play next to that stay-at-home player.
Yep.
I think even Mayfield next to Green is a good idea. That gives
Yeah.
Mayfield a little bit more stability than what he's used to in Letty. Mayfield doesn't need to be that rock. He has it now in both of them. Maybe they're a second shutdown pair.
Yeah.
That would you dream that just works out right in the wash, and Letty is missed, but doesn't hurt that he's not there.
Yeah.
So I think again on paper it's a little strange to see, but I'll trust the coaching staff and management at this point after so much success.
Real quick before we continue to talk about game one, game two is actually happening in 10 minutes from as we're recording this. And I just saw the lineup, and first line for tonight against Philadelphia, which is not being aired, so we'll talk about this in the following episode. The first line tonight is Anthony Beauvillier and Kyle Palmieri, centered by Aatu Ratu.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting. It's cool to see this. I think there's a lot of youngsters in the lineup.
Oh yeah,
Panic is playing.
Yeah, Golashev is there. Well, Panic is older, but Golashev is there.
Well, yeah, guys you don't expect. Sorry, guys you don't expect to be on the roster. Players you don't expect to be on the roster.
Aho's in, Salo's in. But yeah, Dobson's on the first defensive pair with Pelech. That's kind of cool. But yeah, Ratu getting the full chance to show what he's made of tonight with Beauvillier and Palmieri at his disposal. So it'll be exciting to see what he could do with that opportunity. Now he's going to go back to Finland, so let's not get ahead of ourselves here. It's going to happen. He's got to finish out his contract there, but like we said when they first drafted him, I think they see something in this kid. He had a pretty good first game one. Let's talk about game one again now. He had a pretty good game one. He didn't look out of place. I did notice his skating. It's not his strong suit. And that's something that he's been working on and continues to work on, but he looks like he's focusing on it. So it's just a little bit raw, but I think it's going to get there. I don't foresee any reason why it shouldn't.
Where is he playing this season?
Finland with Karpat in the SHL.
Yeah, so I mean, Bridgeport in the next few years can get a lot better, which is good.
I think they're going to be immediately better this season.
I think though there's a good mix. Just like I think there's maybe a higher percentage of younger players in Bridgeport maybe than on the island. But I think it's good for the team to have that. You saw the success that the Lightning have had in Syracuse and Tampa. These players keep coming up and they just keep filling the voids left.
Right.
You can sit there early on as we have and look at Tampa and go, their whole third line is gone. But they keep developing these players in Tampa. Yep. And it's really important to be able to do that. The Islanders have had success on defense with it. There's a new coaching staff outside of a lot of people below Brent Thompson, I believe, is relatively new, if not the whole thing is new.
Yeah, everybody around them is new.
So, they have to start developing forwards a little bit better. They've gotten lucky that players can step right in, in Wallstrom, Beauvillier, Barzal. You forget Nelson and Lee have been around almost 10 years, if not 10 years now. The rest of the lineup's been there a really long time. Like, they need to start developing more than Oliver Wallstrom. On the forward group. And again, as we said, I think on the second episode of last week, Preseason's spot is likely the only one that's available moving forward.
I don't even think then.
I mean, it depends on how long he's there, right? Assuming he's just on a 1-year deal, seeing how it goes
after this season.
after the season.
Oh, okay.
There's not a lot of opportunity, and on D, there's the 2.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So there's not a lot of room, which is good, right? Like you can almost not over season. They can get frustrated for sure, but I would rather them develop and become really good as they did in Syracuse with
Yeah.
Tampa, and really push, make playoff runs, get deep into the playoffs, get that experience, and then come up and play
Now,
at the NHL level.
I like what you said about, the Bridgeport's really good at, developing the defensemen. We should recognize the fact that there are a plethora of forwards right now on the Islanders who came from Bridgeport. Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Matt Martin, Casey Zizekas, like those are all homegrown guys. But it has been a little while since somebody besides Oliver Wahlstrom has come up and been developed. They missed on Dal Cole, they missed on Ryan Strome, and you see what he's
Ho-Sang.
doing. You see what he's doing with the Rangers now, and he just needed that development. Right, Josh Ho-Sang. Who else? Somebody else. I'm sure I'm not thinking. Nino Niederreiter. So
Yeah, some of them, they were clearly good picks. It just didn't work out with management at the time and the rest of the team at the time. And I suppose that happens. That's confusing, I think, to people outside of the team.
Yeah.
And maybe outside of like that inner circle of hockey to really understand what happened. Ho-Sang's obviously trying to do his thing in Toronto. He said he would start in the ECHL if it meant, getting a shot and playing in North America. Gave some credit to the Islanders. I haven't heard anything negative from, Nino requested the trade. I would have too. In that situation, playing 55 games on the fourth line with Marty Reasoner. Yeah, that's not like that. It's you're just getting your ass kicked every single night. Like it's not fun in 2010 or 11 to do that. Some of it was timing. Strome was part of a trade. You have to, you kind of have to weigh that kind of stuff. Like, what did they get back and all of that. But yeah, it's about time. A lot of the players you mentioned have been here a long time now.
Yeah.
Wahlstrom is really the only one as of late, and he wasn't really there that long. That was more of a necessity thing. On defense, still 4 out of 6 are well. Well, it's really interesting. So 4 out of 6 homegrown, came to the system, either drafted, whatever. You kind of have to include Chara in that to some degree, even if he didn't play in Bridgeport. But in in somewhat recent terms, it's 4 out of 6.
Yeah, that makes
Chara
sense.
kind of counts.
Yeah.
I thought as I was saying that, I was like, wow, yeah, he actually was drafted by the Islanders. So you have to include that. And the 90s, if you want some interesting stuff, the 90s, as we talked about the Danbury Trashers thing last week or whatever, the 90s and early 2000s minor leagues was crazy. Who the Islanders were associated with, where like Palfy played in Utah for the Grizzlies. Like it was very, very strange for a period. Like, because you got to remember, there's a lockout.
The lockout is really what got this. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I'm sorry, the strike. There was the half of the 94-95 season.
Yeah.
That got lost. So there was players kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
And then obviously there's a strike in 92, a different story. But yeah, the 94-95 lockout also had players all over the place. So you look back and you're like, where's the Islanders were involved in Utah? What the hell is that? So like you can, and I saw a Palfy Utah Grizzlies jersey on eBay.
Oh my God.
Like if it's like Fisherman Palfy jersey and then that one, like that's such a deep cut.
If anybody has both of those currently, tweet it at us. I want to see that.
Yeah, you might need a statue outside of UBS if you have both of those. Yeah, or they might just hand over the keys to the team. I don't see why not.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to talking about the first game. And one of the other things that I noticed, and it was very obvious in the fourth, and I think that was the last goal of the game, was Ross Johnston. Listen, I love Matt Martin as much as the next guy. I think he's an excellent player in the role that he's in. I think that there's a reason he's in the locker room, a reason on the bench, a reason he's a night in and night out guy. He's part of the identity line. But I tell you, man, Ross Johnston is a very capable everyday fourth liner.
Yeah, like I was saying, when Martin was going through the contract stuff and when he wasn't around for those few seasons, that spot opened up, he comes back, then Ross Johnston gets the deal, or there was something about the timing of that was interesting. I always thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially for what he does. He's a good replacement. I think he's quite a bit bigger than Martin, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's a little bit bigger. Not much, but a little.
So it's interesting. Clutterbuck looked really good in what I saw in that preseason game, which made me feel good about that line because I was worried about his health going into this season, worrying if this would be his last season on the island, simply because he'd be too hurt. Like he might just flat out retire after the season. His contract's up. Yeah, his contract's up. They'll likely renew it on a 1 or 2 year deal, but he's getting up there too. Talk about age, in hockey terms, anyway. I think we're past our prime, or maybe we're still like the end of our NHL prime.
The peak, I believe, and on the downward slope.
On the downward slope,
unless we're Zdeno Chara, then
yeah, that kind of just keeps going up forever. I did just sign up for my beer league, so we'll see.
There you go.
See how that turns out. I'll post my stats. All zeros and a couple dashes for sure.
Looking forward to that.
Oh my god. I definitely I miss playing so much, but it's nerve wracking to and not having skated in 2 years. So I think it's the longest I've gone without putting skates on. So we'll see what happens with Clutterbuck, but so he could take that role. I would hate to lose, even if you bring in Johnston. I would hate to see Clutterbuck and Martin not be there, and it's Cizikas and Johnston and X player. I don't know what that even looks like. That dynamic just works so well with those three players, and replacing one is one thing. Two with Cizikas, I think is a little tough. Johnston's a really good replacement.
Yeah.
But then you need someone else that kind of fits that chemistry.
Right.
I'd love to see it continue. I'd love to see that line continue for the Islanders around Cizikas. He'll be here a while. So it's worth thinking about constructing around him. But we'll see. I like Johnston a lot.
Yeah, I don't know that Clutterbuck retires
if he's
after
hurt
the season.
I say that because he looked like crap in this past postseason.
Yeah.
He just didn't look like himself. The game, it was one game. There's a lot more hockey to go. But he looked good. Like he was going towards it. He didn't seem like he was, not that he looked like timid or afraid or like he was wincing or anything like that last year, but you could tell he was just really confident with the puck.
Right.
Those passes were good. His vision was good. Going hard to the net. I think that's really good to see early on for that line, and that offensive connection. You want them to build that confidence together as early as possible. So I love to see that.
All right. So last but not least in that game, Islanders shut out the Rangers, and that was largely due in part to Sorokin and Skarek. Those two together. I mean, Sorokin looked just. It's funny. He made it look like it was a joke. He was so calm. He was so cool. He was so collected. If that's cliche or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. He looks like a veteran who's been there, done that before, and he has, but not in the NHL. And you could say his small amount of time is I don't know how many games he had played last season off the top of my head. Under 20. And then he had the playoff run.
Under 20?
Maybe just over 20. Could be a little more, a little less. But either way, he had the playoff run and everything. And we know what Ilya Sorokin is. He's he's gonna be the future of the Islanders goaltending for the
22
foreseeable
games
future.
played.
Okay, so 22. So he had 22 games played. He had a couple games in the postseason, but he sits in the net and makes it look like he's been in the NHL forever.
I mean, he's
And
26, right? This is when a lot
yeah,
of goalies start hitting their stride.
yeah,
Their careers are typically, a little shorter in
yeah.
that, where their peaks are, things like that. So yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, I think he's fantastic. He's coming into his own. He's getting confident. I think it's scary for the rest of the division and the league
Yeah,
to have two goalies like that, where you can throw them in any single night. They're
yeah.
both comfortable with the schedule. They know what their roles are, like the rest of the team. Um,
I think
when
the
you
most important thing right now about him looking as good as he did was that Varlamov is not skating yet. So it's good to see that he's ready, almost warm. He's already warmed up. He's looking just like he's going to be just as good as Varlamov this year. Like it's a very possible 50-50 split if he continues to play like that. And again, this is just one preseason game, but you can tell when a guy already looks like he's in midseason form versus getting his feet under him and getting going, from the start. So
yeah,
he looked really good. As did Jakub Skarek though, and that was a really good sign to see as well. He had an iffy year last season with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, and if I'm not mistaken, believe his save percentage was something like 850 or
was he injured here
in
and
the
there? Like he's
800s.
not had a
I don't
straight
know.
line career at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I do know that they like him, and I do anticipate him getting a good amount of starts in Bridgeport this year, likely in tandem with Corey Schneider. But it was really good to see him as good as he was. He made some really good saves. Like there were a couple of opportunities for the Rangers that they probably should have scored, and he actually took that away from them. And it wasn't one of those things where it just found him and hit his chest. He had good positioning. Yeah, maybe that happened once or twice, but there were a couple of saves that maybe it should have been a goal, and he took that away from them. So yeah, Jakub Skarek looked really good. Hopefully that's something that continues to go in an upward trend, and the goalie pipeline looks pretty good, huh?
The near to short term, maybe the medium term looks okay. Because Sorokin can be here for a while. I think I'd mentioned this at some point on the podcast or maybe in an article. It may switch eventually with Varlamov and Sorokin, where Sorokin gets a majority of the starts. Varlamov can continue to be a backup, especially with the system that they play.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's doable, and it might be hard, maybe over the next 3 seasons for somebody else to break into that as they kind of make that switch over. Varlamov might sign another contract with the Islanders, depending on what their contracts, the cap situation is. They can do that, and kind of, Sorokin will need another deal. They'll, at some point, and around that same time, so they can make the dollars and cents work. That tandem obviously works. And if it can't, you've seen Lou and this administration move on kind of quickly. They just feel that they need to, and it's worked. If they can keep the goalie coaches around, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe having a full season with Skerrick around and being able to work in the summer and this preseason, and if you can take another step, if they can save some money, Varlamov is certainly an asset. It'd be, you want that tandem, right? That's the future of the league. So I think you absolutely need that. So you never want that to be the case, but he is an asset if they feel, again, this is now 3 and 4 goalies that they've gone through in recent memory that have all been really good.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's impossible to continue that trend. I don't want to keep rolling the dice. It seems like your luck runs out eventually, but if you can have these two kind of run their course, maybe 3 to 5 seasons more, and Sorokin has another partner down the line, I'm fine with that. And Varlamov continues to take less and less of a role over time, and Sorokin looks more and more comfortable. I'm here for that.
Yeah. And, not only does Skarek look good, but I think the Islanders also really like Tristan Lennox, who they just drafted out of the OHL, I believe. He was like the third best goalie in the last draft. So, yeah, they really like what they got out of him. So we will see in a couple of years who might be shotgunning Ilya Sorokin. But a little more on Sorokin and Varlamov later. Before we get to that, let's take a quick break and get to our sponsors.
Support for this episode is brought to you by DraftKings. Week 3 of football is in the books, and now it's time to review the tape and get ready for Week 4 with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off another action-packed week, DraftKings is giving new customers $150 instantly when they bet $1 on any football game. Listen up because you don't want to miss this. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a bet of $1 on any game this week to receive $150 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings still has huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN to receive $150 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only, minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Additional support for this podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with the 4th generation brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like they're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code NHP20. That's code NHP20. We've all had scary nicks, and Manscaped can help you with your confidence. Ready for an out-of-this-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that has just taken off not only in the United States, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. The 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch that can engage a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes a weed whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop the worst weeds up to your nose and in your ear. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code NHP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code NHP20 at manscaped.com. Your boys need some help. For a clean Trinity and beyond, your space balls will thank you.
Okay, so, something that Trotz addressed the other day gave us some clarity about what's going to happen with the lines. And right away, he told us, you know what? Yes, Palmieri and Wahlstrom are going to compete, but Palmieri is going to get first crack at playing next to Mathew Barzal. So, we did kind of coin not too long ago the C3PO line for Parise, Peugeot, and Palmieri. But it looks as though it's going to be Parise, Peugeot, and Wahlstrom to start the year, which still packs a punch.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna keep going. Absolutely. I think that Peugeot played with Wahlstrom. That part is safe. You have Parise there. That gives, 2 veterans and a youngster kind of coming up and finding his way. Easily can score 20 goals this season, maybe more in a full 82. He was on pace for 22 last season. So it's not. This is not. We're not talking about an impossibility. We're talking about a likelihood. He's just very capable of that. And that first line, I know you had hesitation with Palmieri and Lee kind of playing a similar type of role, but I think that's kind of how they need to work it out. You give Palmieri that role where he's a trigger guy. Um, watching Eberle last season and what he was able to do next to Barzal, I think Palmieri watches that. They watch tape. They do all that. He's definitely capable of kind of changing his game a little bit. He's scored over 20 goals and even 30 goals a lot in his career.
Yeah.
He's obviously capable of that. They can transform games. They can mold the line a little bit and their system and their strategy. He can do the same. I think it's definitely possible for that to work. I think what I had mentioned early on when you and I discussed it was that it was his position to lose.
Yeah, you're right.
If they do wind up, if one of them, if Wahlstrom just is really hot and Palmieri is kind of going through this Eberle on and off streak, I bet you they switch. Now if Wahlstrom, it's tough because if Wahlstrom's doing his job and that line is playing well, I wonder if they just leave it because it's working.
Maybe.
There's no reason to break that up. If Palmieri is the only one not getting the goals, maybe he's getting the assists and he's just playing good hockey. He's not worried about the goals and points. As a lot of these players seem to say playing in that Barry Trotz system that don't worry about the result of the time. Wallstrom even said that, play the game. You're there for the process, even the unsexy parts of it.
Right.
If Lee and Barzal are doing what they're supposed to do out there, the line's still successful, even if he's not on paper, at least in those columns, being successful.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a lot of perspective on that. If the lines are working, they're working. Leave it alone. Trott's kind of proven he sticks with what he knows. Absolutely does not surprise me. Palmieri gets that again. His spot to lose. I think I said that from the very beginning.
Yeah, it is a spot to lose, and I don't foresee it being a problem. I think it'll work out just fine. I wasn't. You said I was hesitant. I guess you could say that. I just foresaw it maybe working out a little bit better with his style of play, meaning Wahlstrom on that first line. But it's going to work out equally as well, I think, on the third line because Parise kind of also does that, and that's maybe something I didn't think about before. But Parise is that net front guy, so you still have that formula brewing on the third line where Parise is going to crash the net. Pajot's a fine distributor; he can do that if he wants.
He could shoot too.
Oh yeah, he could shoot too. So you have a ton of weapons on the third line. I mean, can you think of a better third line in hockey? And I'm trying to be unbiased here. I'm actually thinking of other third lines in the league. The Gord, Gaudreau, and Coleman line's gone. Is there a better third line in hockey right now?
I'm not sure. I think just in general, this is just one of the deeper forward groups we've seen with the Islanders in a long time.
Right, yeah.
And that's where it gets exciting. Every line seems to have their distributor, a shooter, someone with speed. And I think that's where I was trying to get at with having Palmieri up there and having Wahlstrom down there. It's on the third line is it keeps things very balanced. Now, easily it could switch and it could work. Right. And I don't know that anyone would eat crow one way or another, depending on where they end up. I think it still remains fairly balanced. But the way that it is now, that first line has a lot of experience and they're not old. They're kind of in their prime. Lee's coming back. He was coming back from an injury, but he did have some rest. And he takes quite a beating. So he's probably ready to get back out there. He's going to be really energized playing with that line. I think Palmieri, now that his future is secure, he's going to have a ton of energy. And Wahlstrom, like you're right. I think Parise can be that net front guy, that third line. The whole forward group is deep. I don't know that there's anybody, save for the first time Bailey screws up. I don't think there's anybody in the lineup that I'm not happy to see there. Including Bailey. I'm joking. But I think even that second line's really good.
Yeah.
If they can find some consistency, in Nelson and Beauvillier, if I mean, just thinking about it in kind of plain terms here, if Lee, Palmieri, Beauvillier, and Wahlstrom, forget about nearly anybody else. if they can all score over 15 goals this season, that's amazing for this team. That's not to say anything that Barzal won't score 12 to 15 and rack up a million assists, that Peugeot can't score 10, that Tzidkikas can't score 10. It's a lot of goals.
Yeah, no,
Those,
right.
Beauvillier, of all the Wahlstrom can really pop off this season kind of thing, if Beauvillier can pop off this season, this team is, forget it. Palmieri, we know
Right.
what he can do, right? Beauvillier, we've seen it not consistently.
Right.
That would be, there's one guy in every line that's real good. Brock Nelson, I think, has scored over 20 goals like forever.
Yeah.
There's just so many players, but if you can have Palmieri return to form, Wahlstrom kind of continue his trajectory, Beauvillier would really take it over the top. Like he would take that to absolutely the next level. He might be one of the reasons why they can lead a division, make it back to deep into the playoffs. He might be. That's a great idea for an article. Glad I thought of it. He can really be that person. I really think that.
No, you're absolutely right. We've seen the flashes of that ability, and if he can just find the consistency, there's no reason why he can't score 25. And if you have, let's just say, 30 goals from Lee on line 1, 25 from Beauvillier on line 2.
30 is a lot from Lee, I think.
He was on a 36 goal pace last season.
I mean, maybe they were playing really well.
I don't foresee that being a problem. I think he can get back to 30, no issue. So long as that line is
consistency from everybody in the lineup. I think that's what they need, because that was what was happening.
If this is going to be the Islanders' year, Barzal needs to take another step forward, which means he's going to make some more ridiculous plays. Anders Lee needs to be what he was, and Palmieri needs to be better than he was with the Devils and with his short regular season tenure. But more of what he was in the playoffs.
Season before that, and the playoffs. We saw seven goals in 14 games. Is no joke,
right?
And hard to play.
And let's just say,
grinding Islanders hockey.
Let's just say Wahlstrom gets power play one time. That's a sniper who's, if he's not hitting the back of the net, Anders Lee's going to be in the net front to clean up the rebound. So I'm telling you, man, I think there's going to be a different team on the ice this season.
So, thinking about this, my first instinct is like, wow, we're getting really excited. I love this, high expectations, but I'm an Islander fan. I guess I'm ready to be hurt again, but oh man, the fall from this, if it things don't quite work out, we'll have to have some patience for sure.
You have to be the 2 minutes for pessimisting Twitter account. That has to be you.
It has. No, I'm not. I just want us to be somewhat prepared. There's really no reason for that. I guess it's just I've been hurt before, as an Islander fan, and
have you not given your full confidence in the Trotz Lamoriello era? Would you say you're not 100% confident in them?
There's a little doubt. I'm 98%, right? Because there were times now. Look, you can. There are two Islander teams. There are the teams that went to the conference final, and there are the regular season teams.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So I'll say it again. Word of the episode is consistency. They haven't really shown that under Trotz, even in the playoffs. That Philadelphia series was a little back and forth. The Islanders, Greiss comes in, really stands on his head. They pull it off. Showed a lot of poise. I think it's really good for the team. They took a huge step this year against Tampa, really pushing them. This was a much closer series than last year. I don't think that could be stated enough. How much better the Islanders were against Tampa this year than last year in the last playoff series. Not only was it 7 games, but every game was closer. Not just in score. There was just better hockey from the Islanders. Cannot be stated enough. The regular season, though, is tough, and you hope that doesn't sneak up and continue into a playoffs and they lose in the first round. Well, I do want to see more consistency from everybody. That's been a problem with the Islanders forever, and it really hasn't changed that much under Trotz.
I really do. I think things are so different even from a couple of months ago with just the additions of Parise, uh, re-signing Palmieri and a full year of Wallstrom alone. The third, you've written this before, and we've both spoken about it before. Parise in the lineup changes a lot of things because you're now not going to have a Dal Cole or Komarov. Lee healthy, no Komarov. Palmieri and Eberle is a wash. A full year of Wallstrom is another, I'm going to say at least 20 extra goals in the lineup. Which of these lines at this point now aren't going to score? And I will say this, Joe Pantorno, the official third member of NHP, was at the blue and white scrimmage this morning and was talking about how good Parise looked, And again, it's just a scrimmage and it's just training camp, preseason. But, there's something to be said about how good he looks in the competition because there is a lot of friendly competition in the Islanders training camp. They take this seriously. There was an instance this morning where Scott Mayfield was fully ready to go at Mathew Barzal, and it took Barzal pulling up and skating back a little bit to not take a hit from him. So there is that competition. It's internal, and even Parise spoken about it. He said you really get a feel for how much competition there is in this room, and he's every bit as much of a part of that as the rest of the team. So I think just those small additions really change this lineup, and you're going to have, I think, a balanced roster with I don't want to say a lot of scoring, but more than there was.
I think, and I didn't want to interrupt you. I totally agree. There's a ton of potential. There's a ton of potential. And that's why we're excited, right? That's why we're talking about it. Like, very, I'm throwing in my 2%, being a little bit worried, but dark horse Islander player. I think Beauvillier can really make a huge difference and really put the team over if he can find some consistency next to Nelson. Parise too. If there's a second player that can really start making it a huge difference.
Could you imagine if Parise scores 20 goals? Joe scores 20 goals and Wallstrom. That's 60 goals from the third line.
I mean, I think that's super pie in the sky, but it's
no, of course.
Again, I think,
but I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, someone's got to score, someone's got to pass. Like, I think that's where you're trying to figure out that mixing it up on the line. Again, like we're talking about if he can score 12 goals, 15 goals. That 15 would be a lot, I think, from a third line winger. If Zizekas can score, like I think there's some kind of like secondary players that can really like you're expecting it from Wallstrom, from Lee, from Palmieri, whatever. If those secondary players can really make an impact, I think that's where that really prove that there's depth. On paper, it's without question. We don't even need to talk about that necessarily. It's prove it. Prove that there's the depth. Now, this team has before. Adding Peugeot changed the dynamic. Even in the playoffs last year, you can complain about Komarov and Zajac and this and that, but it's clear on paper, past performance anyway, from Parise, Lee, and Wallstrom, that there's a lot more and Palmieri, there's a lot more goals in the lineup this season than last season.
Right.
Especially with the playoff roster. So I'm confident. A little bit of doubt, I think, just trauma as an Islander fan. Just kind of trained in that, but yeah, I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, moving on. So the trend continues for the Islanders, where they continue to get respect, and maybe that's something to, like you said, be a little nervous about. I don't personally think so. I think that they'll be just fine not having the us against the world mentality, but because they all know that they have a job to do. But Greg Wyshynski of ESPN ranks the Islanders goaltending duo of Semyon Varlamov and Ilya Sorokin as first overall in the NHL. And that
no surprise.
Is not a surprise. No.
Neither of them are the best goalies. but together,
Correct. But together,
knowing
they
that
are
you
the
can
best
throw
tandem.
anybody in there, they win hockey games.
Yeah. They have 2 starting goaltenders.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's 1A, 1B. Like
Yeah.
that's the way that we talk about it. So I'm totally confident with both of them in net. Sorokin definitely picked up his play throughout last year. He continues to look really confident. They had a ton of shutouts between the two of them. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it gives the team, you can tell that the team is comfortable in front of both of them. I don't see their style changing very much. I think everyone was a little nervous when Sorokin first started. He got shelled in the first game.
Yeah. Wasn't his fault.
Bounced back as the season went on, it was comfortable. He played really well in the playoffs. I think that was the real rubber meets the road moment for him and really making a name for himself is
Right.
Varlamov can't play or whatever the case was, and Sorokin comes in and plays really well. His movement is a little more exaggerated than I think that the goaltending coaches Mitch Korn and Pierre Greco would like, but he makes it work. So yeah, I definitely, I agree with what Wyshynski wrote. I think a lot of people are putting the Islanders high. The Hockey News put the Islanders high for winning the Metro. A lot of Jay Fresh did the same thing. Wyshynski's saying the goalies. Yeah, maybe they can use that positivity to their advantage. They don't need the chip on their shoulder to kind of continue this trend for them, but we will see. High expectations, I think, from around the league, and they set themselves up for that. Back-to-back conference finals. They conference final. They haven't faltered from that. It wasn't a fluke. I don't know. We're getting close. We're a few weeks away from starting it all over.
Yeah. Quick side note: the ultimate troll, and it's just preseason, but Jesper Kotkaniemi scores the first goal for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight, in what is the ultimate troll of a contract by the Carolina Hurricanes. Still can't believe that. But let's get back to our Islanders here, and the last bit of news we have for on the island is that the Islanders loan Bode Wilde to Vasterviks over in Sweden. It is the second highest league in Sweden, below the SHL. So he'll be playing there this season, as he is the only player on the Islanders not vaccinated, and we'll see how that situation develops moving forward.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on this last show, but some mixed feelings about that. His Instagram post. It's tough to see this, just kind of in general.
There's been a few players like this.
There have, and we'll talk about the rest of them, and I can share more. But yeah, it's tough to watch all this happen.
Yeah, some good things that I'm seeing right now in the current game happening in Game 2 is that Dobson is on the first power play unit, manning the quarterback, and Salo and Ratti have gotten some power play time, and they're said to be looking pretty good too. So good things developing in the second game of the preseason. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but these are all good things to see and to hear. All right, let's get to Around the Rink, and the full NHL calendar of important dates released this week, leading us through next summer. So that was really interesting. It feels like, this was the shortest summer, and we already have so much to look forward to this season. There are so many things happening.
Yeah, the first date on there, outside of the beginning of the season, trade deadline March 21st. Not very long after the All-Star and Olympic break.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting. Last day of the regular season is April 29th. Playoffs begin May 2nd. Last day of the playoffs is June 30th. And then the silly times begin all over again in the summer. We won't get too far ahead and go through all those dates because we have some time before we need to deal with that. But yeah, outside of the first game of the season this year for the Islanders and the rest of the NHL, some stuff to look forward to. Cool if they released it like this, or at least things are kind of making their round a little bit better. But yeah, we know what's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I wanted to talk about the Jack Eichel situation. So he didn't pass his physical, and he was stripped of the captaincy. What are your thoughts on this situation? Because it seemingly just gets out of hand more and more the longer this goes on. And I really didn't think it was going to be this long. I thought he would have been moved by now. What are your thoughts?
I think if I'm in Jack Eichel's situation, and it was my body, and I wanted to continue my career longer. Like the two, listen to the 31 Thoughts podcast with the actual surgeon that is proposing what Jack Eichel would like to do, and I can't remember the difference between the two at the moment. But if I was him and I wanted to continue, the surgery that he wants would pretty much have him unchanged, and I think unless he gets hurt all over again, he wouldn't need another surgery in the short term. The other one, he would likely need a second one, replacing this current one. The Sabres don't care about that because his contract will be up by then, likely, or it'll be further along. They can buy him out, whatever the deal is. The surgery that Eichel wants has not been done for an NHL player. It has been done for hockey players before.
Yeah.
Has been done for other athletes, pro athletes. I want to, he's an asset to the league. You don't want to see the Jack Eichels, the Matt Barzals, Austin Matthews, McDavid, any of these players. Even Kucherov, that the bullshit with Tampa. Yeah, they circumvented it. Yeah, they won another cup, but it took away from a talent in the NHL. Whether he was ready for 10 games in the regular season or not, or whatever the deal was. I don't like that because I want to see these players play. So I don't like that. It's just not like that. These are the players that we pay to go see. These are the players that make this game really, really fun. Jack Eichel is so stupid.
He's one of the best players in the league.
One of the best players in the league. I would hate this for any other player. I don't know what, I think having listened to a recent episode of 32 Thoughts of the podcast now, they were talking about, offers are still coming. They want, like Tarasenko, they want those medical records released. Teams don't know what they're getting into. Right. Friedman didn't mention what teams would be okay with Eichel getting the treatment that he would like, or that side more with Buffalo. Who knows if maybe no teams want to, would go with what Jack Eichel would like to do. It's just messy. Friedman, I guess go listen to that podcast. It's obviously very good. They're very knowledgeable on this stuff, way more than I am. But Friedman said that maybe the NHL needs to step in here and be some kind of arbitrator. We got to figure this out. Right. Eichel is just not going to play. There's contract issues there. This was in the CBA, so you better believe the next time this happens, it'll be kind of written out or something. But I don't know. You want to see him play. You want to see him get better. I think aside from this surgery and if he can play again, this guy is really hurt. His every day is probably miserable. Your neck, I have a little thing in my neck right now. And it's
take it out.
What's up?
Take it out.
No. I just moved it wrong. And it's not like a big deal, and I don't really notice it most of the time, but it's annoying.
Right.
I can't imagine going through what he's going through on a regular basis, where I'm sure it's tough for him to drive. He can't move his head. It's hard for him to just live his life. And I think there's a quality of life thing. I just feel bad for the guy. Not only do I want him to play hockey, I want him to just if he quit tomorrow, be comfortable. And they're not even letting him do that. And that's complicated.
You know what it is too? It stinks for him because not only is he missing time right now, but the reason why he wants to have the surgery that he wants to have is because this is something that it's a one and done, or
The
it's
recovery's
supposed to be
quicker too.
right. It's supposed to be a one and done. Whereas if he gets the fusion that the Sabres want him to have, he's going into that knowing that there's going to be more in the future. It's a
Yeah, that's what I
guarantee.
said earlier. No,
It's
that's what I'm saying. I think that's the
so
problem. And they
right,
don't care because his contract will be up.
right. So I think that's really just where this all is the worst for him, and it's awful too because now he could have had it already and it could have been over. This is an Olympic year. He's not going to play for Team USA now.
Yeah, that's
There's
another
so
bummer. Like,
there's
it's
so
just we're
many
getting robbed of
factors.
good players.
So many factors, right? You're getting robbed of good players, and this is a year where Team USA is expected to do real well. So
Yeah, and adding and having a Jack Eichel in the lineup is or not
that's
having them is a big blow.
right. That's the equivalent to having a Barzal in on Team Canada. So it's a tough loss for USA. It's a tough loss for the NHL, and yeah, I feel for Jack Eichel. I hope this is resolved soon. It's a tough situation.
Yeah, selfishly because we want to see him play, but like I want him to be able to get whatever surgery he wants to do. Either way, he'll feel better. Like either
Right.
way, like the recovery will be longer for one than the other. But like,
Yeah.
I wanted to live his life. Like I just feel bad.
Yeah.
Like
no.
even just normal activities.
Yeah. Totally.
And he got hurt. I think Friedman mentioned this. It's not like he got hurt. What did Friedman say? Jumping snowmobiles off of cliffs or something like that. Like
Right.
he got hit.
Kind of how PK Subban hurt himself off the ice playing with his kid.
Yes, it's not. While it should all be respected. It's fine. People get hurt, and
Right.
you're not supposed to live in a bubble.
But he got hurt doing his job.
But he got hurt on the job.
Right.
So it's just complicated. The CBA makes it complicated.
And I get,
you just need it resolved.
You're investing $10 million in a player
A year.
per year. I get it. But man, like you're messing with someone's livelihood now.
Who wants to go play for the Sabres now?
Yeah.
Like they're digging themselves a hole.
And I'll tell you what, I think this is coming from ownership. I don't think this is a GM thing. There's a new GM there, and I think the ownership are being firm with this. I think
Kevin Adams, right?
Yeah, because Kevin Adams used to play, and he knows what it's like to get injured, and I don't think that at all that this is something that he's saying. I think this is coming from the tippy top, and they're trying to be firm on this.
I don't understand what they're doing with this team, and just like in general.
No,
I don't know what they're
me.
doing. So I'm baffled. Like if you just want the player moved, he's not coming back. You don't want him back. Kevin Adams has said as much. It's clear Jack Eichel wants out of there.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes it can be resolved like Tarasenko, but just gotta figure it out. Do what you gotta. I don't know what's holding them back from doing what they have to do to move him. Release medical record, whatever the case is. Like it's better for both teams. Get something for this guy. If he got injured playing the game. I don't know the legality of them having to make him get a specific surgery, but somebody's paying him.
Right.
Like he's gonna get paid one way or another. I don't know where insurance comes into that. There's a lot. That's way more information than I have off the top of my head, or that I'm sure we can even find out to a certain degree. But like, you're gonna want to pay this guy. I don't know. Just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like I know it sounds really easy, but like, yeah. His value drops every day.
I know. I'm with you. All right, moving on to more issues in the NHL. Let's talk about Evander Kane, who was cleared of throwing games for the purposes of betting on them, and that was a preposition brought up by his soon-to-be ex-wife, and he was cleared, and there's been a lot of issues surrounding Evander Kane, and the fact that was cleared and it was cleared pretty quickly said to me, okay, somebody is making something up, and now he's under investigation again for breaking COVID protocols, and I'm like thinking to myself, when does it end for this guy? Because he's had some off-ice issues. I don't exactly know what his rapport is in the locker room, but
clearly not good. Whatever it is, clearly not good.
Yeah, but at this point now, it's like, are they just looking for things to get this guy on?
this may not sit well with people, and bringing players like Josh Hosang into this, bringing up that recent incident in the Ukraine league, um,
Yeah.
which I don't want to. I should know the player that it was against, but I for sure do not want to mention the of course, the American player that made the gesture, a very racist gesture. But with the way Hosang was treated, the way just like racism is, I know everyone's signing, and you should, and hold yourself accountable to the Black Girl Hockey Club pledge, get uncomfortable pledge. Go do that. Teams are doing this. The league is doing it. The NHLPA comes out against it. It's tough to be like, where's the accountability for like other players, but it seems like they're just holding black players to a higher standard that they're not holding other players to. You're just like, again, are you finding something with this guy? He
Yeah.
could just not, he could be a bad egg. I don't know that it means you just keep investigating him until he just leaves the league. Like that's not fair. That's not just, that's not anything.
Yeah.
Like he can not even be largely even a good person. Like it just doesn't mean you keep chasing him down and I don't know. I don't really know the story with his wife. I know what she had posted on Instagram. The league has to look into that stuff. Someone makes an accusation that's serious, especially with the way that the league is going with sports betting and things like that. They cannot have that, which is why it was done as quickly, which proves that you can do these things, right? You can do the investigation. You can figure this stuff out. The player who should not be named on Carolina, free and clear, whatever, gets traded. The Canadians just draft whoever they want. Doesn't matter. But Evander Kane, is he not helping himself? Sure. I think it's safe to say that he's probably not doing himself any favors at this point. However, to your point, it kind of does seem like they're just trying to find something. They're just trying to make this guy's life miserable. And they have not done that for other players. They very much have not. Tom Wilson, again, the Canadians, the Carolina Hurricanes, like, I don't understand. They're capable of accountability. They're just picking and choosing when they do it.
Maybe.
I don't know. What do they get out of it? What are they getting out of doing this to Evander Kane? I understand the prior accusation, which he's been cleared of. You have to look into that. Move on. If the San Jose Sharks want to terminate his contract for being a piece of shit in the locker room, different discussion.
Right.
We're not talking about the same thing here.
The other thing too is he's proven in the past that he's actually open and willing to talk about his mistakes. He actually sat down with Linda Cohn and spoke about his gambling problem and that he went into debt and that whole situation about him. And he was open, he was honest, and he admitted to it. Filed for bankruptcy and he went through it. It's just circling back for him now, and it's just like, when does it end for this guy? Because if he gets cleared of this, what's the next thing we're going to hear about?
Yeah, and that might be some of the locker room stuff that may be much closer to the truth, for sure.
And I'll be quite frank, he's the Sharks' best forward.
Yeah, but it's kind of like on the Islanders with it's the right group of guys and their character in a league that it's the irony is unsettling because it's all about character and all this kind of stuff, and we'll get to other kind of stuff. It's being tough and character and all this stuff, and then stuff like this happens and they can't seem to figure things out and put it all together. So yeah, Kane could just be kind of cast aside by San Jose and not really have anywhere else to go because who wants that on the team? But look at what happened with Carolina. They just take a guy that's clearly a locker room problem anyway. So like I don't understand. Like there's talk about consistency within the league. There's no consistency with any of this. I don't really know how to make heads or tails of it. It's kind of a little crazy, frankly.
Mackenzie Blackwood comes out as the only unvaccinated player for the New Jersey Devils, and that's a bit of a problem for a young and up and coming team because he's an excellent goaltender. He's probably the reason why they won a majority of their games last season.
Was he 24?
He's young. He did come out and say that the reasons are for some of maybe underlying health issues that he's got going on. So he's investigating it a little more. So he remains unvaccinated. Now, it does appear that he's with the team. He was he did a presser today addressing it. He was in his Devils, I guess you could say, undergear, his practice T-shirt and such. So it does look like he's around the team. Now, don't take my word for it as a definite, but it looked that way.
Yeah, so I saw a report. So Tom Gigliotti, or with NHL.com, I'm saying his last name wrong.
Gigliotti.
Whatever. Yes, sir. Sorry, Gigliotti, whatever his last name is.
Still said it wrong.
Fine. It's not in front of me, so I would be able to sound it out, but I don't remember what it looks like. Said that the Devils playing Canada 9 times. He would obviously not be able to play those games, which means he would have to forfeit that salary.
Yeah.
And again, any other, like if he gets sick at all and isn't able to play, that seems to be what the protocol is as well. The forfeit salary if he can't play for any reason related to COVID-19, then he forfeits salary. Tyler Bertuzzi in Detroit is the same thing.
Same thing.
He's been a little more out about it. Columbus has had some issues. They fired an assistant coach, Zach Ronaldo, who spoke at a Canadian right-wing rally about not wearing masks and all this other stuff. And, my body, my choice kind of deal with, which is yikes. I don't understand it. There's a lot of hypocrisy there, what we won't dive into. I think what aggravates me is that, there have been players, there's a lot of known cases of underlying conditions after you get COVID, that heart problems or long-term lung issues or whatever the case is. And that was, long COVID it's always been a problem for everybody, but athletes in particular because of the way that they push their bodies. Then it comes out that Alex Stalock, goalie for the Edmonton Oilers, is out for the year due to a new heart condition due to COVID-19. I sit there and think, how do you not just go do the thing? Like, sure, you can still get it, but you're not going to go in the hospital. You're going to avoid a lot of these bigger long-term issues. And as an athlete, your body is your ticket. And I'm like, for that alone, right? Like selfishly, I can continue to get paid as a hockey player if I don't get sick. If that's your only reason, but like, I don't understand.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all works out too, because when you look at the NBA, it's the opposite of the NHL. Most of them are not, or at least 50% of them.
Well, they had to get the exemption for Canada to play the Raptors.
Right. So
the NHL is not going to do that for 10 players. They're not going to call the Canadian government for nobody. That's why the NBA got it, because they had to get it. Which is,
it's just interesting to regardless, most 50% of the NBA, not just a team.
Is that an actual number? Like, I believe you.
I'm pretty sure.
I have not heard that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's something close to like 50% of the league is not.
No, that's fucking crazy.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it's a significant number.
I mean, like I'm only saying that to you because it seems just nuts if that's the case.
It's a significant number. So, it's interesting to see how the two who, play in the same arenas and in the same time of the year and everything. It's interesting to see how, the parallels.
I'm seeing CBS says 90%, which is lower than the NHL. 90% vaccinated.
Oh.
10% of the league unvaccinated, according to CBS. Jasmine Wimbish.
Okay, maybe that was something a little older that I saw. Maybe that's more current.
It's still less than um
I mean,
you
there's
know
only
si-
there's only like a handful of players in the NHL. 10% of the NBA is a lot.
yeah, it was 95% a month ago or so.
I think they
The
said
Bill
it's
Daly.
Saravalli on DFO the other day said it's like 98, 99 now.
Oh, I'm sure. And we're only hearing bits and pieces about players that aren't. Um, yeah, I mean, it doesn't set a good example for people. Obviously, you know, it's complicated, and that brings it, to the Bode Wilde thing, which I hold off from saying before, where it's like it's a human right, and everyone's like, to play hockey. Come on, man! Like you gotta. He's obviously young and is just saying things. He's regurgitating information from what he's hearing and feeling and all that kind of stuff. But um, yeah, man, if it, it's so funny that hockey is such a team sport and everyone do it together, and then something like this happens, which a lot, especially if you're American, you have a lot of vaccines. You needed them to go to school, and then all of a sudden it's like they're an individual. I don't understand. That doesn't like it's all about the team. It's all about the no spotlight on me type bullshit until it's like you can actually do something to make a difference and for everyone to be safe. And it's like, oh well, I get to make that choice. Like, dude, I saw a video. It was your teacher handed back your science tests in school face down, and you're gonna do your research. That's a joke. Come on, it's just that's not what we're uh this is not our jobs to do that, right? No, don't just ignore stuff. I guess you could look into it a little bit, but it's again for the greater good. Let's help
Yeah.
everybody until this, and it's aggravating. I don't understand how this happens.
You mentioned Bode Wilde again, and I just wanted to bring up this weird wrinkle that actually Mitchell Anderson had him on a couple episodes ago. So go check
Friend of
that
the show.
out. Friend of the show for sure. Weird little wrinkle in the Bode Wilde situation that the Hockey Allsvenskan, which is where Bode Wilde was sent to, had previously stated that they won't allow NHL loans this season. And Bode Wilde is now on loan there this season. So another
Lamoriello
wrinkle
must have
in
henchmen
the
or something in Sweden.
another
Sweden's had like weird laws, and they were going
just
all over
another
the place.
feather in Lou Lamoriello's cap of I don't know. Is it could you consider him a tyrant? Like his tyranny?
If Lou Lamoriello was anything but a GM in the NHL, he's a dictator. But or crazy.
It's
But
just
the fact that he's
crazy.
in he's running an NHL team, they're like, oh my god, he's brilliant.
I don't understand how he just continues to get away. I don't want to say he gets away with things. He's doing everything he's doing in some sort of legal fashion.
As
It's
far as we
just
know.
as far as we know, but he just does these things that we don't see any other GM do, and
Because he pushes the limit, and
it continues to blow my mind.
no one's gonna question him. I think that's the thing. It's like, all right, is it against the rules for him not to have announced anything for as long as he did? No, I don't
It's
think it's
not.
against any. I don't think
No.
it's against any rules, or something would have changed.
Right.
He's gonna test it. He was like,
Yeah.
I don't think it was something that was premeditated. I think it was something that happened as he was trying to make deals and different things.
I
He's like,
agree. Yeah.
he's sitting there thinking like that first couple phone calls. He's like, I don't know, I don't have these guys signed yet. Like maybe before free agency, right? Like I don't know, I don't really know what these deals are. And he's like, I don't know what the deals are. They don't know that I know what they are or not, even when they happen.
Reminds me of that Friends episode. They don't know that we know that they know we know.
Right. So he keeps he just kind of keeps playing that card. Now eventually it became obvious, but even so, it was just a numbers thing at that point.
Yeah.
Which is my aggravation with Islander fans all summer. Like, announce the thing. Why? So then we can wonder if they're going to make the trade or not. Like,
Right.
you know who's coming back.
Yeah.
Stop it. Chara was the surprise, right? Stop it. And I even said earlier than that, stop with Tarasenko. They don't need him. They bring back this core. It's already an upgrade.
Yeah.
What do you know? everyone is excited about it, and I'm not often right, so I'm milking this. Char was a surprise, I think, to everybody. Could have been Gustafson. I kind of called it on that. They can still not sign him on the PTO. He can still go elsewhere. But anyway, we got back. Everything goes back to the Islanders in Lou
Always.
Lamoriello. But
Always.
that's the point. That's the point of the show, so I don't mind.
Yeah, and speaking of Tarasenko, real quick, my next article with the fourth period regarding the lack thereof move with Tarasenko will be coming out quite soon, possibly as you're hearing this. So I'll be on the lookout for that. Let's talk about the All or Nothing Toronto Maple Leafs documentary that is coming out on which platform is it again? Is it an Amazon?
Amazon.
Okay, an Amazon
Hate
documentary.
to give a free ad, but
yeah, no free ads.
But Mr. Jeff Bezos will be sending you an invoice.
Listening to
our PayPal email is not.
Listening to 32 Thoughts podcast, Jeff Marek and Elliot Friedman both got an inside look at the documentary, and both were talking about how fantastic it was. I don't anticipate it being anything like the Danbury Trashers documentary, so let's not set the bar that high. But I hear it's nothing but short of fantastic, and I'm looking forward to watching it. Are you going to watch it yourself there?
Absolutely. So I was listening to the podcast and I paused it. And I was like, "Is it out?" And then it was just the trailer.
Yeah.
So apparently it comes out on the 30th.
Mm-hmm. So tomorrow.
Tomorrow, as you're listening to this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really excited. I love this is as close as behind the scenes as we'll ever get to the NHL. It was a lot like Road to the Winter Classic and stuff like that. As I think just like a really hardcore hockey fan in general, this stuff is just super interesting. Yeah. I want to hear the stuff on the ice. I want to see what they're doing in the locker room.
I want to hear, and I don't know if I interpreted this wrong. I thought I heard Elliot Friedman talking about how there was a scene where they were like, "Yeah, we don't need Joe Thornton," and the next thing you know, they just signed Joe Thornton.
Brian Burke was on likely the Sportsnet show, Fan 590 or whatever, talking about how they don't need Joe Thornton, and Joe Thornton is listening to Sportsnet.
Oh God!
In the car about Brian Burke talking about how they don't need.
I can't wait
Joe
to watch
Thornton.
That.
I love those little bits. I think just seeing a more genuine side of the game that we don't often get to see, because everybody, in pressers or on social media or whatever the case is just, or in interviews, it's all they have media training. They're all somewhat scripted, and it's cool to kind of see it in real time, at the recording it in real time, the reaction, even if it's a little bit late, and even if it's about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I wondered if they'd ever do that for the Islanders. I'm like, not with Lou. I don't see that happening.
Nope.
It'd be a collection of press conferences and very nothing information. I do have this dream though that HBO gets the secondary rights or something to the NHL, and there's no commentary. There's just like mic'd up on the ice stuff.
I would love
and it's
that.
Just like raw gameplay.
It would have to be. It would probably have to be rated TV MA.
X. Z minus. I don't whatever it has to be. God, I would think that would be so.
That would be sweet.
I don't even care if it was the Sabres versus the Sharks.
We would get more of Matt Martin yelling at what's his name? Is it Drew Miller? Ryan Miller's brother?
That was years ago.
Go dye your hair.
That clip has gotten so much life, and the fact that Martin is still around makes it continue to be really good.
Is that his name? Was it Drew Miller? Ryan Miller's brother? I feel like that's it.
It was someone on Detroit.
It was on Detroit. It was definitely a Miller, and I don't know Ryan Miller's brother. His name is Drew Miller.
Wow.
Nailed it.
Good for you.
Good for me. I watch hockey. I write about it. I'm
I
in the
watch
I'm in the
hockey.
media.
I pay attention to this silly sport. But yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
Just to like real like I'm always there's like they're chatting in front of the net and all this stuff. I'm like, what is happening? Like I know I can put it I get played. I know what you're kind of like bullshitting out there, but it's so much more interesting when it's at the professional level. The chirps are so good.
Love it.
I think that's the holdback on a lot of this stuff is that not to bring it back to this, but like the hockey's for everyone. It would be very vulgar and not just like curse words. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be stuff that they don't want. The league doesn't want to have out there about
I'm gonna
hockey
blank your
players.
blank blank blank. You know, stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
god, it's like Slapshot. Hand, like it's you just
Yeah.
don't want that stuff out there.
Right.
So I can from a PR standpoint that might be a nightmare, but it would be fun.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
need more mic'd up moments. Even if a lot of it's in the cutting room floor, I'd love for more of that. Even if they bleep stuff out, I just want to hear the nitty gritty of it all.
Yeah.
Like you're at the game, but you often can't hear like the play's not in front of you all the time, even if you're on the glass. But yeah, I'm excited to watch it, even if it's about the Leafs. Should be cool.
Quick tidbit: did you happen to see the Seattle Kraken debut in the preseason?
I did not. I know they won.
They
Spoiler
won,
alert,
but
against Vancouver, who is yet to
just-
sign 2 of their RFAs. Still,
that's true. Big RFAs. Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson still unsigned, but
and Travis Hamonic might be one of those. He may opt out. He may retire. That's news. I'm not really sure where it's at. I heard on 32 Thoughts. I've seen articles. I'm trying to keep up on it. I haven't seen a whole lot. Interesting situation. I don't think he's unvaxxed.
I don't know what the reason is. I think he wants to play in the U.S. again. Is what I thought I saw.
Because he has a family member, maybe his daughter, that's immunocompromised. So it would surprise me if he wasn't getting it. Now, if he knows he can pass it on, even if he is vaccinated, to somebody that isn't because their age or
maybe it's a
their
wash.
other health issues. So he didn't go into the bubble 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 seasons ago, rather. He played last season?
He did.
I'm not sure. This is confusing.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking before listening. I was like, I don't understand, but maybe I don't have all the information. Likely, I don't have all the information.
Well, anyway, let's get back to Seattle Kraken. The uniforms, my God, they
It must have looked
incredible.
cool.
Incredible. No,
It's
not
a lot of green out there with
nope.
Vancouver.
Nope, they looked so good. So good. If you could find a still shot, if you could find a clip of the game, do it. It looked really, really good. That's all I have to say about that. At NHL History Girl on Twitter tweeted, on this date in 1929, so this would be today and yesterday as you're hearing this, right? This is your note here. I wasn't sure if it's today or yesterday.
It was from today, the 28th.
So as you're hearing this, it is yesterday. On this date in 1929, the NHL made a new rule change permitting forward passing in any of the 3 zones, but not across either blue line. Was that the 2-line pass?
Well, essentially they created a rule for no 2-line pass. You can now make a forward pass. That was my understanding of it anyway. But isn't that crazy?
Crazy, disgusting. I'm so happy it doesn't exist anymore.
There's so much of a lot of sports. I mean, not as much as maybe baseball is stayed very much the same or things like that. I mean, like obviously training is different and the players and all that, but hockey's really gone through some serious iterations.
Much like baseball, they want more scoring, they want more excitement. It sells seats, it sells tickets, so that's part of the reason.
Yeah, so it's interesting that it took that long to do. Glad it's here. Glad there's no more 2-line pass or that kind of stuff. Although I'm sure there's arguments for the health and safety of the players, and just because
Yeah.
the game moves faster and hitting and all that stuff. But it makes it more exciting.
Yeah. I think that's it for this episode, pal. Next episode 80.
Yeah, I'm tired. This felt longer.
Yeah.
Than what the timestamp is telling me.
Yeah. Maybe next episode our homework is to have watched the documentary, the All or Nothing.
I can do that. I also want you to watch the Bo Burnham thing so we can talk about it.
That too. Yeah.
And if we need to like take an extra day so you're recovered from that, we can do that.
Yeah, let's do that. But all right, we want to say thank you to DraftKings and Manscaped. Use that THPN promo code and that DraftKings promo code. Promo code is THPN, and the DraftKings promo code is NHP20 for Manscaped.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Did I flip it?
THPN promo code with DraftKings.
Let's clarify. Thank you.
And NHP20 with Manscaped.
If I fumbled my words, I apologize. We also want to say thank you to the Hockey Podcast Network and to all of you guys, our listeners. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Nassman Hockey, and you can join our Discord for a safe space to chat with fellow Islander fans. You can find that link in our bios on any social media platform. Lastly, you can find my work at the Fourth Period and John's work at the Hockey Writers. Until next time, everybody, let's go Islanders.